So if you use X11, when you want to have programs to run at startup, you probably put them here, right, in .xinitrc. And when you put the programs in here, you probably have them, all of them end with n. And if you actually remove it, it might not work. You might not be able to actually start your window manager. Well, I guess it depends on the commands you're trying to run, but especially if it's like a GUI program or a program that's meant to run forever, it might show some weird things. And well, why is that? Well, we can actually show the difference. So here we have two awk commands, and they're gonna do the same thing, and we're going to separate them with a semicolon, right? You know, it's like if you use a script, or if you're writing a script, you probably just put them in different lines, right? New lines and semicolons are interpreted as the same thing. Just like, you know, it's like a semicolon in C, right? So if we do this, and actually if we do htop, we can actually see that there's one awk process that is running, right? It has like 100% CPU usage, and you know, this is gonna run. But if we do the same thing, but we use and here actually, and enter that, well, we can now see there's two awk processes, and we have more CPU usage because, well, they can be run on different CPU cores. So when you separate different commands with semicolon or a new line, the first command will be executed, and then the shell is going to wait until it's actually finished, right? Or it exits, and then it's gonna execute the second command. Whereas if you use n, the first command is going to be executed, but the shell is not going to wait for it to actually finish or exit. It's going to immediately execute the second command. And that's why with the n, we could see two awk processes in htop, right? And that's why if we have some programs here that's meant to run forever, for example nvtemp, which I use to control my temperature, it's going to actually run forever, right? It's not gonna ever exit. And if we don't put the end here, it's gonna wait until it exits before it executes anything after it, right? And that's why you actually need the end here. But before you actually use and everywhere, well, if you have more cores, you can get things done faster. Well, you can only really process so much things at once. If you have 6 cores, you can probably process 6 commands at a time. Well, 6 expensive commands. But if you actually have a lot of commands you're trying to run at the same time, it might actually make it slower or your system unresponsive, because you're kind of overwhelming your CPU and your operating system with a bunch of processes which you can't actually process at that time. And so you probably want to limit the amount of things you run at once. And so if you have 6 cores, for example, you probably only want 6 processes running at the same time. And for that, you can use wait or wait pid, but I'm not gonna get into that. But you can use them to wait for certain processes to exit,